sharing from this amazing book, The Narcissist Borderline Couple by Joan Lachkar. This is a psychoanalytic perspective on marital treatment, but it gives amazing insight into the narcissist and borderline personality. I have borderline. I have unfortunately dealt with so many narcissists in my life that this sort of book is extremely helpful and enlightening for not only myself and to self-reflect and realize more of my own things and what's going on within, but also helps me understand the narcissistic personality better from Joan Lachkar's perspective, which is invaluable. So I'm going to be sharing from chapter 1, which first talks about the narcissist, and then the next time I talk about this video will be chapter 2 for the borderline. Okay, so the narcissist, clinical description. Narcissists are individuals who need perfect mirroring, perfect stroking, perfect responses. Narcissists need to be in control. When injured or insulted, they typically withdraw or isolate themselves. They do not realize that their withdrawal evokes certain unconscious anxieties in borderlines, sadistic attacks, envy, persecutory anxiety. The narcissist has the tendency and power to stir up enormous conflict within the borderline because the borderline is continually threatened by the potential fear of fragmentation and decomposition, and suffers annihilation anxiety as a person who already has a thwarted sense of self and development. Narcissists are driven by the need to be desired and appreciated, tend to isolate themselves either physically or emotionally, fear loss of specialness, and are easily injured or outraged when not properly understood. They are dominated by guilt and self-hatred and have idealized and omnipotent fantasies. Preoccupied with a loss of self-regard, narcissists have an overinvestment in self, yet will do anything to preserve a sense of specialness and attempt to prove themselves by isolation from others and concentration on perfection, power, and omnipotence. The narcissistic tendency to withdraw is accompanied by a driving need to be desired and appreciated, and the narcissist becomes easily injured, insulted, and outraged when not properly mirrored or understood by self-objects. Through the process of introjection, narcissists internalize an idealized image of themselves and then project this image onto others. Repeated empathic failures recreate injury to the self, resulting in self-persecution and self-hatred. For the narcissist, there are two central issues. 1, the child's search for the missing entitlement, and 2, the sense of being the chosen one, whose concentration on perfection, power, and omnipotence leads to a perfect harmony with God. Narcissists seek out others to confirm or justify exaggerated entitlement fantasies and distortions that the world is deeply indebted to them. Clinically, the narcissistic personality disorder is viewed as developmental arrest in which the main caretakers have withheld phase-appropriate mirroring responses. Freud initially conceived of narcissism as the state of self-directed libido. The word is derived from Narcissus, the Greek youth of legend who fell in love with himself. Freud viewed narcissism as a libidinal force similar to a hormone that can be transported to different parts of the body and fixated there. These ideas are the first forerunners of the notion of self that is between the ego's relationship to its ego ideal and the ego's libidinal forces cathected to its objects. Freud meant by primary narcissism an absolute state in which all libidinal energy is stored up and which lasts until the ego begins to cathect onto its other objects. When the ego is transformed from narcissistic libido into later object libido. A narcissistic person who is in love is highly cathected to someone who has qualities he or she wishes to have or had and no longer possesses, such as beauty, power, organization, sense of self, ability to be alone. The narcissist then tries to own these qualities or to possess them through envy. Feelings of love under these conditions are not sustained and soon are diminished or devalued. The effort of one partner to possess the other will destroy or spoil the object, and envy will increase rather than subside. In finding a love relationship, one will often choose someone who has qualities that are lacking in oneself. Common myth that in order to be complete, all one has to do is choose a love object, hoping that the beloved person will make the other whole. Otto Kernberg suggested that the narcissist is one who responds defensively, is regressive in nature, and attempts to get back at the parental image for failing the child at a primitive sadistic level. The Caucasian model of narcissism depicts the more highly developed narcissist, whose primary and normal narcissistic phase were virtually unattended to at phase-appropriate times. So in conclusion, the narcissist, preoccupied with self-regard and driven by an overwhelming desire to be appreciated, lives with the paradox of hatred turned inward to the self and distorted entitlement fantasies. The narcissist is constantly searching for a rejoining to a time when mommy and baby were one, a time of being mommy's special child. The literature suggests that we tread carefully with the narcissist regarding Oedipal conflicts to avoid narcissistic injury at all costs. If we take this approach, are we then, like Oedipus, blind? How then do we ever help the narcissist achieve victory? If we can wean these kings and queens who lie or sit before us away from guilt, exhibitionism, and arrogance to move toward a resurgence of natural curiosity, we can be assured that as clinicians, we are doing our job. I find learning through this psychoanalytic lens, where she is essentially the therapist trying to help these couples out and gives a very in-depth explanation, and some words even I have to Google to understand the meaning of what they are / have trouble pronouncing them. But it is very, very valuable, so I'll definitely continue sharing from the next chapter, which is the borderline.